Let's get Darren on the line. Hey, Darren.
What's going on, John?
What is up, my buddy?
How you doing?
Very good, very good. Why don't you tell our audience about you, man? I know all about you, and I love what you do, but educate us on who Darren Heitner is, please.
Okay, I'm an attorney down in South Florida, specifically Fort Lauderdale. I focus a lot on sports and entertainment, also intellectual property, but I also do insurance defense and on the plaintiff side as well. I've also had a website called sportsagentblog.com, been running that since December 31st, 2005. It's basically an industry watchdog. We look over the sports agent profession. We look at all the bad things agents are doing and also praise the agents that are doing a good job for their clients. In addition to that, I also own my own sports agency called Dynasty Athlete Representation, and I do some media work as well. So that's a pretty short wrap-up. And
you're all over Twitter at Darren _ Heitner, correct?
Yeah.
We got to get rid of that underscore. I know you were talking about it today.
I'm trying right now.
We got to find a way to get the other Darren Heitner.
Twitter doesn't respond to me, though. Well, we'll see.
We'll get there. You're building it. The two main issues we've talked about that relate to the lockout are essentially the agent switching hands, which is just going crazy, and player loans, which is just phenomenal. I know we've talked about there was one player got a $500,000 loan at about 20%, which means he's got to pay back $100,000 just to try to survive the lockout. Tell us. Let's talk about your role. I know on Sports Agent Blog, every time somebody changes hands, you're up to date and you let us know from whom and to whom. Why is so much of that going on?
Well, I think actually a lot of it goes hand in hand with the lockouts or with the lockout loans and the lockout situation that the players currently find themselves in. There are particular agents that have a lot of funds built up and are willing to spend it actually out of pocket, not even going through a bank. So it's not necessarily, your standard secured loan. And a lot of players are veterans and rookies alike who have not yet even signed contracts with their teams are going to their agents and asking for money. And a lot of the smaller agents just can't provide it. They might say, we've got banks that are willing to provide the loan, and they may not even have those connections. There are certain agents who don't even wait for the call. They're out there actively recruiting players that are looking for money and providing it ASAP. And those players, they're thinking short term. They're not really understanding, what goes along with taking out those loans, and they're picking their agent based on that alone, which doesn't make much sense, at least to me, because since when did an agent become a bank?
Exactly. Go ahead.
No, there's a lot of agents switching just based on that alone.
When I talk to players, I say that there's two things. There's one very important thing that you need to pick an agent on, and you're going to pick an agent based upon one of these two things. Do you want an ATM? Do you want somebody that's going to hand you money and make sure you've got the nice house, the nice cars, and then be like the Sports Illustrated statistic of 78% that go broke 2 years, 3 years out of the league? Or do you want a CEO? And I know you have the CEO mindset as well, where we're gonna make a legacy out of you, and we're gonna as your sports agent is called, we're gonna have a dynasty, and we're gonna surround you with it and make sure that you and your children are well taken care of, so you're not working at the Chick-fil-A 5 years post retirement with bad knees and a bad back.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Go ahead.
I was just going to say the weird thing in all this is that, under any typical situation where there's not a lockout, these NFL players, the veterans, wouldn't be getting paid right now anyway. So I don't understand exactly what the difference is in today's world where there is a current lockout. Again, they wouldn't be getting paid right now. Now, if there be forfeited games and the players don't receive their paychecks, that's another thing. And in that situation, I can understand the taking out of loans. But recently, there was a report that came out in Sports Illustrated that mentioned the fact that the NFLPA, the Players Association, actually took out a huge insurance policy where players would get around $200,000 if the season was missed. Now, I know that wouldn't pay off all the debts that the big-time players have, but at least it's something there. And a lot of these loans are around that range.
Right. The other issue that we've talked about is the problem with the NFLPA being certified. Let's talk briefly about that. The NFLPA has, for NFL agents like myself, has rules that we have to go by. We have to take a test. We're certified, and if we break those, they can compel us to arbitration. They can punish us in various ways, financially and through suspensions. With the NFLPA being decertified, my thought is that the arbitration provisions are no longer valid, and the good old court system of the United States is in play here. You agree?
You're 100% correct. There is no sort of grievance procedure through the NFLPA currently. The NFLPA does not represent the agents and or players right now. So if there is some sort of tortious interference with an existing contract, that could be brought in the court system. And while it's not a tort that necessarily is easy for a plaintiff to win, it is you will get a better chance at proving your case in the good old-fashioned court system than you will in the NFLPA arbitration process. So, agents who have been losing clients. There's one agent that I've been following, Terry Watson, who's lost 2 clients this offseason to Drew Rosenhaus. And let's say, take it the other way.
Wait. Let's focus on that name again. Who was it? Everybody's favorite agent, the Drew Rosenhaus.
Right. Right.
Go ahead.
Well, if Drew Rosenhaus loses 2 clients, it's not that big of a deal because he has over 100 clients, a lot of big names as well. But if, a smaller agent like a Terry Watson loses 2 clients, including a big-time draft pick, Alan Bailey from University of Miami, and Spikes out of University of Florida, who's a big-time middle linebacker, you lose those 2 guys, it can cripple your agency. And from what I hear, he may be losing at least 1 more, and that could really, really hurt you. So, in that sort of situation, if you can find the smoking gun, and I'm not trying to say that Rosenhaus did anything that's illegal, but if he did, now you take that into the court system, and you could potentially get damages out of it.
I am. I don't like Rosenhaus. I have a serious problem with his business model. I think if you're representing 150 guys, if you just simply do the math, you got about 5 minutes per guy per week to work on him, even if you're working twice as much as the average American. But and he was tied to all that North Carolina stuff, which I know is an issue that both of us would like to see further investigated. So let's say Drew Rosenhaus is the biggest culprit, and let me provide a little background to our listeners. Tortious interference. Let me explain what that is real quick. Tort law is the law of civil wrongs. When you have a contract with someone and somebody comes in and interferes with that and causes that contract to be broken and you to lose, you to have damages related to that, it's a tort, and it's very actionable under Florida law and just in every state's law. So what Darren's saying here is agents that have had NFL contracts stolen away or taken away by Drew Rosenhaus and others, they can file suit. Normally you couldn't file suit because the NFLPA required all these disagreements to be arbitrated. They would be handled very quickly. They would be handled by the same arbitrator. And some say, and I fully agree, that Drew Rosenhaus has some friends at the NFLPA. So anyway, what we've got is these bigger agents coming in, and they are causing these contracts to be broken. Now, Darren, from recruiting is the essential part of becoming a good agent, right?
Sure. Without players, you have no agency.
And so what we do for the NFL perspective, and I know you do it for baseball and other sports, is we get to these guys as early as possible, make a presentation, and try to become a member of their family and get to know them. In the NFL, because of the NFLPA junior rule, the earliest you could do it is December of their junior year. And so you get to know these guys for over a year. Once they're done, you take them out, you get to go to dinner with their families, you fly over to their college cities. If they want to go out to Miami for a weekend, and after their eligibility's gone, you kind of try to take care of these guys, because a guy like Drew Rosenhaus can drop 5-star and first-class accommodations on them in a heartbeat. And so,
yeah, the issue is the real hurdle that you have to counter with this tortious interference claim is that you mentioned it yourself. Rosenhaus represents over 100 clients in the NFL, so they're all speaking to each other. A lot of them are on the same teams. A lot of them come from South Florida. And the problem for an agent who is trying to assert this intentional interference with contractual relations claim is that, if the player himself reaches out to Rosenhaus, well, there goes your claim altogether. And if his teammates are in his ear nonstop, unless Rosenhaus actively recruits that player, knowing that the player is represented by another agent, that claim will just go to waste. But, I think the easy part is showing that Rosenhaus knows that the player is already represented. I mean, there's no way that he does not know. The information's out there, maybe not through the NFLPA right now, but my website gives a round 1 through 7 listing, and it's very easy to find. Again, the issue is, did Rosenhaus really make that first contact, or did the player, after hearing that Rosenhaus can give a large amount of money to the player in this loan, reach out to Rosenhaus? That's a big question.
That is the question, and I know you and I both would love to ask that question at a deposition. The thing that's never happened in the world of NFL, the NFL agent game, is nobody has ever sat down for sworn testimony, and I know that's the biggest fear of, I'd say, the NFLPA, the NFL, and everybody, just to see how dirty this business actually it is, because I've been in it 2 years and have seen some crazy things already, even from good guys. There's too much money involved, and when a player is thinking short-sighted, they tend to go for the ATM rather than the CEO. They don't realize that the money that you're going to have in your 30s is more important than the money you're going to have in your 20s, and that's a problem.
And you make an interesting point. There is a unique opportunity right now. If an agent has lost a marquee player to a Rosenhaus or to another big agent, and firmly believes that it was because of the agent recruiting the player and not the other way around, where the player was seeking out the agent, there's a unique opportunity right now to go through that process where you can depose the agent if you file a complaint. Whereas when the NFLPA wasn't in place, and when it will come back as a union of the players, you don't have that opportunity anymore, because you have to go through the arbitration process, which is bound by their guidelines. So
it's a small window, and I know players. Yeah. It's a small window, and I know players, agents. I know agents that are interested. I've talked to some of them, and you have too. It's just dealing with the fear of retaliation and the fear of, what is the NFLPA going to say? We're kind of trying to use this window and jump through their rules. Well, you know what? The NFLPA decided to decertify. It decided to make us pay for a year's worth of certification and insurance and everything else, and then hop out because of this NFL lockout issue. And there's such problems that if I honestly believe if 5 or 10 depositions were taken and the Fifth Amendment wasn't asserted, we could find out a lot more about the dealings, and it would talk about Florida sunshine laws. It would bring a lot of this stuff to the sunshine and the sunlight, and be very interesting.
I agree.